there is this element of fear which is all pervasive in the mind of consumers, in the mind of businesses, even if the government is encouraging them to avail of financial credit, they're not really open to that because everybody's fearing whether that will add to more costs. So, what is your advice to companies to really build that confidence or a feeling of trust among the customers so that this vicious cycle turns into a virtuous one?
That I would say is the toughest one, right? Because how do you get customer sentiment back? How do you get corporate sentiment back? How do you get the migrant labor back, right? If I think about it, those are the three from a sentiment perspective. If you just take one data point, I gave you the example of the banks, right? They're parking 7 lakh crores in reverse repo. That is just an example of the fear, right? Exactly as you said, consumers and customers as well will actually not want to spend as much. They will say, I'm better off just keeping cash in case something happens and I need it. So this is something I think as a race and as a country, we are going to have to wrestle with to say, how do we get the confidence back? And that is going to only come back with doing, I would say gradually. You saw customers saying they believe it's going to be 3 to 4 months before they even think of traveling and so on, maybe even 5. So that just tells you that's one part of it. But I think the challenge is going to be, how do we get the customer sentiment back? It is going to be slow and gradual. It is going to take a few months. It is also going to take a few steps. And there have been a lot of conversations that we've actually been like Abhimanyu, right? We all knew how to get in. So we've gone into this lockdown. We are now looking at how do we get out of it? How do we get out of this mindset of saying, let's just bunker in and not get out of our bunkers, right? Whether it's spending, whether it's investments. So I think both from an individual perspective, how do we get the consumer demand back? From a corporate perspective, how do we get the capex investment, the investment cycle back? And like I said, the other big challenge is going to be to do both of these and get the economy back even to 80-90%. How do we get the migrants back? Because a large part of the growth in the cities had actually been, you take real estate, right? If people do not come back, who is going to build the next set of buildings, which are all stalled right now? You take infrastructure projects. How are you going to get enough people to actually work on that? And so I think it's the most fundamental question in front of India, but not only India, the rest of the world, but India even more so. And I think this is the most critical one, which says, how do we get customer sentiment, corporate sentiment, and, like I said, labor or migrant labor back? I think those are the three biggest ones. I don't have any easy answers. That I think is the $1 trillion question. If I look at it and say as an economy, that's the swing. If I take a 10% swing, a +5 to a -5 on our $3 trillion economy, then that's a $500 million swing, or whatever, a $300 million swing, right? That's how much that question is worth. So